Hello everybody, I'm just about ready to get started. Just finished up the Attack on Titan soundtrack. We've moved into Ukiden 2? But anyway, we'll give people a couple minutes to trickle in before we go into D&D story time. In the meantime, we'll boot up. I guess I'll give some minor updates on the stream itself. I managed to get like 5 PDs off stream just from doing Endless Nightmare. That's always nice. So if nobody's around, I'll just do a couple of runs of that while we wait. Otherwise, in a couple minutes, we'll do some story time. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. I wish I double-checked. I'm really curious how many levels I gained. I want to say 9 on this Sky Phonuman during EN4. I think he was at 113 before. He went from less than 9 hours of play to 11, so I know I'd put in some decent hours at least off stream. Okay, I don't see anybody here. We'll get a warm-up run going, and then I might do something more autopilot if I'm gonna do D&D if nobody's around. I figure at least I could say I did a run on stream. Welcome, Retract. Hope you're doing well. I'm in my mats on my new Phonuman's throat. Oh no. Well, I mean, like, EN4 is definitely a way to level. If you needed help leveling the character, let me know. I don't have plans until Dango is here. Dango might be part of part 2 of the stream. One day, chat, we will get him that lame to Argent. I'm kind of experimenting with this room a little bit. Not sure if there's like a strat that I like the most so far. I like pulling them slightly to the side and then there we go. Only downside is sometimes they can slide like that. Okay though. Thought to be like a tech cast, it's not the end of the world. That side was much cleaner. It's like you do have to kind of wiggle it a little bit, because if you just stand still, I find that it never hits the one in the back. So I would rather I miss 2 shots than miss like 5 that same one. I'm okay with that. I'll do one more. So Retract, I was gonna just do CCC. No, I'm gonna be honest with you, I would be doing stuff that would level your character anyway. While I was doing D&D talks. I want the most brain dead run possible when we go into D&D time. So I literally wouldn't care. It's all I would be doing anyway. It is not a big issue. I mostly just want to unseal. I think we've given some time, but I don't see other people here. And since Retract is here, that gives me a run to help with while we talk about D&D story time. So I guess I'll preface D&D story time before we go into the actual story with, it actually overall was not that bad. I don't think this week will be a horror story. Welcome in Parameter. For people expecting a horror story, it was actually mostly fine. But I figure I'd give some updates on that anyway. Welcome in Parameter. Hope you're doing well. Missed them with the Razan there. That was interesting. I'd like to walk like right here-ish. Oh no, I have to do one more cast. As before, I like pulling them a little sideways. It just... Sometimes the front one can slide. There we go. That time they didn't slide. Better stun lock. Type of thing that I hate doing. Sometimes if I'm slightly too close, I don't get the Zon to zip into that one. But I've learned many ways how not to do this run. Maybe one day on stream I'll do it properly. It's like I'm close. I know why it went wrong without looking at it. Like whenever I see one left, I was like, damn, I was too far forward. So at least I'm at the point where I understand where the mistakes are. But anyway. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to show to retract is I finally got an item from Ian 4. I think it's the first one ever. I got DBN 30 and Charge Disca. Other than that, I've gotten a lot of Mind and HP, apparently. There's that, I guess. So anyway, is chat ready for Ultra Brain Dead gameplay as we talk about DnD? I think I'm ready for some Ultra Brain Dead gameplay. I'm getting a little more comfortable with that run. If I run it for like another hour straight, I could probably clean up the run. Like, it's pretty close. It's like, I'm within like 2 to 3 character steps of being in the right position. Need to find some techs. I don't have any, sadly. Forgot you don't just get them for free. What do you want? What do you want, Retract? There's literally a character called Tekkium. You need something, Retract. All this character does is hold text. You're part of the team, Retract. You want a full set? I have it. Oh, the event eggs. Chad, I can't get rid of these event eggs. Listen, Tangent. They infest every character. It's like the 4th character that has them. Yeah, I'll make a game for Retract. I don't know. It's up to you what you want to give me. I'll just grab what I can. So let's talk about DnD while I do some menuing in here. So from the standpoint of DnD, the big issue... I'm not giving you the grants level 30. One of the big issues with it is that about... Let's say... Wait, grants me good? Okay. About, like, 18 hours before the game was meant to occur, we got a text message stating that, oh, that's a lot of PDs. We got a text message basically saying that we needed to level up our characters. I don't know about you, chat. One thing that does not sit well with me is being told, like, I'll put it, let me even give more context. It was like 9 p.m. on a Thursday, and we were gonna meet up at before 7 o'clock on a Friday, going on like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So it's like pretty late at night. You just get a text message just like, "Oh right, I need you leveled." I'm like, I'm looking at this like, are you being serious? Like this first, like, come on. How would you not know that we need to level after like 3 weeks? How do you not know? Like, shouldn't you know as soon as the session is done? I just have so many questions, chat. I really do. So, personal pet peeve, please don't do that. Like, please don't. This makes me sad every time. So, I was trying to figure out, you know, all these spells, because we're at a level where we gained a new spell slot. So it's like, great, I have to make sure I have to understand all these new spells after we were not told to do anything. So why would I be looking up the high-level spells this early if I didn't think I was anywhere close to leveling? So everybody was kind of scrambling in order to go through. I'm gonna go make the game on Blue ID so you can jump in and retract. But it's one of those things where essentially half of the people that were there didn't have their character sheets updated. So the first like 40 minutes that we were there were people trying to update their character sheet. So that was already kind of an oops in terms of D&D pacing. But from the standpoint of other things around the table. I don't think the DM like fully checks our sheets at all, like ever, or asks things. And the reason I state that is because somebody was using I think it's the DnD Next app, where essentially they are kind of in the, I don't know if the word is archival or transition period between like 5th edition and 5.5 in D&D. But they have kind of a legacy, that's what I was trying to think of. They have a legacy character sheet for when it was back in 5th edition. And wow, did their character sheet not make any sense, chat. Like, I'm telling you, like, you don't have to be like a pro at D&D to know that this sheet was hosed. I mean, like, it was hilariously terrible. So, like, if anybody's played D&D at all before, you know that you generally add proficiency bonus plus a main stat to a skill, right? So I'm sitting there, and this person has a 20 in Dex, which is a +5 modifier. And I know they're proficient in several of the skills that they're using, like, for example, sleight of hand or stealth. And I'm hearing some of the numbers on their sheet. And they said with a very straight face at one point, fortunately before the session began that time, who knows how long the sheet has been wrong, by the way. They're like, oh yeah, I have a +2 to stealth. I'm like, do you mean a +20? They're like, no, a +2. And I'm like, how is that no? I'm just like, that's not possible. It's just, the math doesn't math, chat. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, let me see your sheet before we get into like any serious business. And I'm just looking at the sheet, and like some of the numbers made sense. There's a couple I had to double check, because I was like, is that really correct? Do you have a +10 in initiative? And they're like, oh, you have the alert or awareness feat or whatever it's called. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that was the thing. But it's more like totally wild to me that they've probably been playing this whole time. They had a reflex save of +2 as a rogue. That's level 13. Like, to put it in full context, they were rolling with like less than level 1 character stats with their like beyond mid-game character. And I was like, how has this player not died? To be honest with you, what a miracle. So I think my first like half hour that I was there, I had already managed to finish my sheet. But I was like, I don't know how you survived any encounter. I'm going to be honest with you. So, like, his saving throws were all messed up. His AC was also pretty terrible. Like, I don't know what chat would think, you know, a normal balance for, like, no luck complete skill, says Dango. Welcome, Dango. Speaking of which, we got to get all luck for Dango later for the lame to Argent. But as I said before, I was going through the sheet and like none of the numbers made sense. Their attack bonuses were wrong. Their damage was wrong. It's like they were a mix between like a level 1 character and then like a character a couple levels lower. So like when they did a printout from this site, it didn't update the sheet properly. So I would see weird things like their unarmed attack is like +11, but then their like magical +2 attack sword is only a +9. And I'm like, that just doesn't even make sense. Just like, I don't know what I'm looking at. This is just not correct. I'm telling you, nothing about the sheet makes any sense. I don't know what happened. So I spent a good half hour going through their sheet, and as I said before, some of the skills were correct. Most of them were not. They were trying to take a feat, I think, to reroll weapon damage. And I was like, listen, if you want to take a feat, I don't think the weapon damage roll matters for you as a rogue. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it said reroll sneak attack dice, I would understand, but I'm like, you probably want to get something like resilient, right? Because like, all we do in this campaign is get slammed by like will saves. So I'm like, you probably want that. You probably want to go from a +1 in will save to like a +6. I'm just saying, And the best part is, like, he also had an odd number in wisdom, so, like, he got a really big pump to that, on top of no longer being hopefully dumpstered by will attacks. There's Pharma, indeed. So, from that perspective, I think it was interesting to see, like, the state of the sheet. Because, again, this person had been playing longer than I had in the campaign. I don't know in D&D in general, but, like, in that specific campaign, they had been there for at least like 5 or 6 sessions longer than me. So I was like, holy, did the DnD just never check? Or the DM never check it? I mean, it had to have, because like, how would you let somebody run with it? It's like so obviously wrong. So that was kind of a headache. As I said before, some of the other players were kind of turning to me for advice and options. And I'm not gonna like power game them, quote unquote, all the way through. I just think things like Resilient just make sense because it's literally what bodied him in like the last encounter. I think I mentioned before, it was like the big demon showed up and he just immediately got will saved and was taken out of the fight forever, pretty much. Where I'm like, I don't think Daze works like that, etc., etc. But anyway, that's a different story. So, you know, they're all trying to go through. People are, like, scrambling to look up spells, because, like, most people are at the point, even if they were multi-classing, where they would get something. So, just a lot of, like, kind of haphazard things. I guess, like, to the DM's credit, the DM, like, took us aside one by one while other people were updating sheets to kind of give a, like, what's happening between the sessions talk. Which is actually a pretty good save on his part. As I said, I like to try to give credit where credit is due. I think that was actually like a genuinely good move. That people were just sitting there for like 40 minutes, doing nothing essentially. At least some people were occupied with that. So, plot-wise, there's not really too much to say other than it's setting up that, you know, the big important DMPC character is big and important. And from a story perspective, not like a ton happens. But I think from the perspective as a player, it's very clear he does not like players outsmarting him in the plot. So I think we talked about this before in a different session, but he got really, like, not like angry, like audibly angry, but you could tell he was not happy that our barbarian gained enough levels that they got free. I think it's like clairvoyance, one of their barbarian archetypes. So it wasn't me. It wasn't even me this time, chat. It wasn't even me. So it's just, I know it's just all players in general when I make that comment. And we used it to spy on somebody we think is like the actual big bad. And he's like asking like a million questions on how this ability works. And then, like, he makes the ability fail, because, of course, the DM doesn't want us to know what the big bad is doing, etc., etc. And I'm just like, man, this is another wasted opportunity, where it's like, how many times in, like, a D&D game where you have something like clairvoyance that is actually used on a very targeted, specific case, and, like, you just don't give the player anything for it? They just auto-spot it, even though it's supposed to be invisible? They're like, okay. Right, chat? Okay, yeah, okay. I said, you know what? If the person has True Sight and they cast it, that's more reason to kill this character next time we're in a session. I'm like, why would you have True Sight just sitting around? I don't believe this. This is nonsense. Kill this character. The meta demands it, chat. The meta demands it very heavily. So I felt bad because that player's time was wasted. And again, it kind of countered like smart decisions. I will say from the standpoint of, you know, the rest of the session, it basically was just set up that the DMPCs, oh, I'm gonna reset on this, I don't feel like doing this one. That the DMPC essentially, oh, Dango's there. We'll help Dango in a little bit. For now, CCC. Till we finish story time, then it's all Dango time. But from the standpoint of the DMPC, basically the trying to remember the terms, brain is blanking. Crown Prince. The Crown Prince was killed, so therefore the DMPC is now in line for the throne. So that is the basic plot hook. That's basically what happens the first hour of the session, which I will give credit where credit is due. Again, it was a mostly PC on PC interaction. No worries, retract. It's a mostly PC on PC interactions, and we were allowed to actually like talk without like some random super god NPC interfering until the end of the first hour. So for like the first hour that we actually finally got into the game, despite the late start, it was actually kind of nice doing role playing with the other players. And again, That's more the other players are better at what they do than the DM doing something well. But, you know, we were theory crafting and talking about, like, whether or not we trust certain characters in the universe and what we plan to do now that we have downtime, and then, like, how does the political dynamic get impacted by the DMPC becoming king, who would stand to benefit from it. You know, how does somebody die in a D&D universe and not get brought back, especially if they're from a, like, royal family that would obviously have easy access to money and presumably also services. So, you know, we talked about that for quite a bit of time. But unfortunately, as I said before, the punishment of the players is there. So he did not like, and I know he did not like, because otherwise he would not have done this. He did not like that we were going to go into the city to go investigate his big bad. I don't think he realized how obviously evil he made the big bad, where there is a clear, we'll call him, for lack of better terms, captain of the guard that has replaced a formerly trustworthy character and has gotten information for very dubious things that all seem to be associated with the DMPC. So we're like, okay, I mean, this guy's clearly doing something. He's like, I don't know if he's like demonic levels of evil, but he's clearly not a good person. So we're gonna go to his office eventually to investigate. So he throws like a lot of things in our way to stop us from going there. And one of which I thought was really funny, because Ultimate Lobby, my bad. And one of them I thought was kind of funny because he tried to have like shadow hounds stalk us, I think is what they were called. And I said from that standpoint, I'm just like, okay. I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pull out my lantern or revealing light. Because he's describing to us like they're like, oh, they're never seen in the daylight and they always, you know, teleport between the shadows. So I'm like, I'm going to remove all the shadows in a 30-foot radius from me. Right? Like, I'm kind of done with this. I'm just like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. So he just kind of went, oh. Like, the DM actually just went, oh. And I'm like, it also reveals invisible creatures. So I'm like, if anything is attempting to sneak past me, it's not happening. That was kind of the, I think I mentioned that last session, but if I didn't mention it, I'll just say, I was definitely at the playtime is over when it came to Artificer abilities. I got really tired of things like Helm of Awareness being ignored by him, where the enemies just always seem to get extra actions, even though I shouldn't be surprised because it's part of the ability and other characters other than me also have that ability. So I literally just got rid of it at the start of the session. And I was like, you know what? Because he likes ambushing us out of nowhere, I just have the ultimate no. Because I'm like, the Artificer creation, the Steel Defender, can just hold this. I don't need it to attack or do anything else. I'm like, I don't really care if it never has a free hand ever again. I don't care. I don't use it for that kind of purpose. So I think I deflated the I think I deflated the DM when I had the natural counter to the shadow creatures, where I'm like, this isn't gonna work on me. Like, I'm not gonna be in like a quote-unquote shadowy alley. Like, they have to enter the light in order to do anything to me. So I said good luck. Well, I didn't say good luck in universe, but I definitely thought good luck at that time while I was at the table. So it's just kind of one of those things where, again, I mean, it's like, it's one of the things that I learned. Like, I hadn't used it in a couple sessions. I think I talked about it before, where I was like, kind of having enough of the DM not playing by the rules with combat, and then it was like, if he's not gonna bother, like, adhering to how initiative is supposed to work, I don't see the point in the item, because it doesn't do anything. Like, if I roll, like, a 25 in initiative, I still don't go first, and I get ambushed, what is the point? I don't care what my initiative is anymore. Do you know what I mean, chat? Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, if you just want to make up rules, like, I'm kind of done with it. I would have preferred to have stuck to that, but it is what it is. So anyway, there's this whole, like, red herring where essentially there's, like, people from some region claiming to know the Crown Prince are looking for him, but no one should really know about him, so they're obviously not trustworthy characters. Again, I don't know how subtle he's attempting to be, but I'm like, okay, so these things, they have literal shadow dogs, and I wouldn't think they're part of, like, the Underdark that wants to kill us because... Why? Why would normal people have this? Do you know what I mean, Chad? I'm just like, I don't believe this. You can tell me whatever you want. I don't believe. Suspension of disbelief not had. So anyway, he keeps trying to like throw like additional things related to the main plot in our way as we're attempting to go to this person's headquarters. He even tries to dissuade us from going there in general because he's like, oh, he's really busy. You'll have to make an appointment. So we're like, we kind of called him on it. We're like, well, then let's make an appointment. The DM is like, trying to think about like, oh, wait, they actually want to follow through with what they're talking about. And I'm like, yes, like, what, yes. I don't think, oh, darn, he's not here. I guess we'll leave. Like, it's not gonna happen. We need to get some information from this character. And even though, as I said before, the DM does not want to give you any credit or any props if you're attempting to do anything smart. So I basically got recruited by him. I now, from having been in the room with him, understand where all of his important documents are. I also understand from the people that were in the room at the time that we went there that we actually, without needing to say anything, learned that he is an evil villain. So I'm like, I consider that a win. I didn't have to roll anything, and I actually got the hard confirm. Like, again, I think he thought he quote-unquote beat us because we couldn't get him to, like, talk about certain topics, and he was playing dumb about others, and essentially kind of wasting time there. But I'm like, you kind of messed up by having a certain character there. So I'm like, if that character's there, then that means you know that character. And by extension, if we already think that person is 100% evil, then I'm like, yeah, we're gonna start getting rid of you guys real soon. Let me tell you. Not gonna be a fun time for those NPCs. So anyway. Don't worry, Gar will save the GM at the end. Damn, you're right. Gar will show up and fix everything. So I'm still thinking about what I want to do. I'm thinking of actually using his own NPCs against him to see if I could get them to kill each other. Like, that's what I'm thinking about, chat. Like, listen, I'm not planning on fighting them. I just want them to deal with each other. Praise be Garl, exactly. Just want them to deal with each other, chat. It's fine. Why don't we tell all the people that are looking for the DMPC where the other guy is, and then tell the other guy that they have something that he needs. Just watch what happens. Instigate a little, it's fine. Nothing nefarious, chat. Just totally normal things. Anyway, I haven't decided whether or not I'm gonna outright attack this said character. Though, I am thinking of sabotaging his documents at minimum. Tell Gar all the secrets, he'll sort it out. Damn, you're right. I mean, he kind of has the DMPC like that. And speaking of which, so we're doing all these things learning about, like, slowly trying to gather details from the town about how the Crown Prince died and how is he actually dead in a D&D universe. Which, in, like, normal storytelling, it'd be like, oh, somebody died, it doesn't really matter. But in D&D, it's like, no. Nobody stays dead in D&D, so why are they, like, dead this time? So we were just kind of talking it out, and while we were on our way to the other person to confirm what they were doing specifically, since we think they stand to benefit from the Crown Prince, we're looking to gauge how truthful they are, or if we could catch them in the middle of something, which we kind of did. But again, not from the DM telling us things. It's more because certain characters were there, we were able to figure something out. Or they died and the shop was out of Phoenix Downs. Yeah, you're right. Damn. Yeah, from that standpoint, it was... Unfortunately, yet again, like, characters just teleport in out of nowhere. Everybody seems to know where the characters are. I really don't like that as, like, the standpoint of, like, a DM or, like, a player. That, like, literally every character knows where we are. I don't mean, like, they're looking for us specifically. They're looking for somebody that we're hiding, and they know that the character is there. And I just find that very annoying. Welcome, Marco. I'll do one more reset, and then we'll switch quests. Do it for Marco. But yeah, from the standpoint of kind of going in and figuring these things out, it really sucks when everything keeps getting railroaded to the point where, like, the literal queen of the kingdom teleports in on the place while we're out and tries to split the party, and they do manage to split the party because, again, like, what can you really do against a character that teleports? It's kind of annoying. As I said before, it's just kind of annoying. It's like, well, I mean, I guess if you literally have somebody teleported and teleport away with one of the characters, what could you really do? So, needless to say, I wasn't very thrilled with that particular progression. So, yeah, the first third of the session was just figuring out details. Then a character comes in around the end of the first hour mark, basically takes away the DMPC, which, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm also kind of thankful for, but then, like, it didn't really get resolved. I think I mentioned before on stream, I kind of hope the DMPC dies. I don't really want to deal with them, and I feel like the adventure is just all about the DMPC and not about the party or what the party wants to do. So I'm kind of steering it more in the last, like, 2 hours of what do we want to do in this town? I don't necessarily care about the DMPC or what they do, if they become a king, etc. But it was just full of, like, a whole bunch of nonsense where, like, try to follow this logic. So the Crown Prince was murdered in his room while he slept, and the Queen wanted us to give up control of the other person because it would be safer to bring them into the castle. And I was like, I was so mad I wasn't in that social encounter, because I'm like, are you a doppelganger or something? Like, what Looney Tune logic? Like, our party should have been questioning that really heavily. I'm a little disappointed by the party in that instance. I don't think that made any sense. I'm like, if anything, you'd want them away from the place that they just died. They're not going to be safer with you because they literally died near you. So either A, you're an imposter, or B, we shouldn't listen to what you want because you're clearly out of your mind. So, unfortunately, because the stronger of the social people at the table, I will put myself in that list. We're not in that social encounter. The Crown Prince died here, so the place is clearly safe. So, you know what? If they kill the Crown Prince, I'm gonna be like, okay. I don't really care at the end of the day. I just view this as an excuse to potentially kill off other important NPCs. That's how I view it. I'm just like, listen, they want to talk about king making? I want to make sure that a couple of the people I don't like have unfortunate accidents at some point. How are they going to catch me? How are they going to catch me, chat? Let's be honest. Just sabotage everything. It'll be fine. So I'm thinking about ways to purposely mess with him. I'm thinking of falsifying some orders from the queen just to see what he does. Potentially luring him out of town where I can slowly deal with him. And even if he thinks it's a trap, I don't think it really matters, because as long as he goes there, I'll probably still kill his character. Doesn't matter if you leave the kid there. Wasn't he like an immoral power deathling a kid? Yes, exactly. But plot will somehow demand that we have to care, because of course. The NPC is like Garl. Everything revolves around him. It's kind of annoying. So we'll see what happens. Allegedly, I think there was... Apparently, I was talking to the party in, like, the second hour of the game when I was catching up in-universe with plot details. And this was, like, the first time both in-game and out-of-game I learned apparently there's some kind of person going around taking off the arms and legs of people in order to potentially form some kind of weird, like, super army of things that requires parts to be spawned. And I'm like, why are we doing this? It's like, oh, like, what do you mean there's somebody going around collecting body parts? And we think that it is to create some kind of weird stitched army of some sort. Wait, can we go back to that plot? What was that? It's like, why are we messing with the kid? Why don't we care about this? Oh, man. So apparently that's just a thing, by the way. And again, if the town gets destroyed, I don't know if I really care either. So I'm kind of all for the villain winning at this point, I'll be honest with you. I too like being the main side character. Damn, that's what it feels like. So, I don't know. It's certainly something. So we'll do some runs with Marco as soon as we're done with this run. I think we're tracked pretty close to 20 by the time we're done with this rune. So, I don't know. It was just one of those things where I just feel like plot points were like completely dropped, and I can't tell. Was that like the party fumbling really hard, or just the DM decided to just change what the plot of the game was? Because I could tell you at no point in like the 4 sessions I've been there has that come up, and I'm like, I feel like that's kind of an important plot point. Like, why are we not doing anything about this? So, essentially not too much happens. I mean, the obviously evil character with the Shadow Dogs is obviously evil, and nobody can remember their interactions with him. And I'm like, okay, well, this would explain potentially how somebody got into the castle if nobody can recall potentially dealing with him. I'm like, okay. I think people were making some kind of DnD joke about a false Hydra. It's like, it's not a false Hydra. But, oh, nice level up. I'm here to help Dango, hope it'll only get Mazer Beams this time. Damn. So true. Okay. I'm gonna just slash lobby. There we go. Assisted retract for a little bit. Let's do some... Guess I was doing, what, yellow ID? So I think from that perspective, the first hour was okay. The second hour, it definitely felt like the DM was putting hurdles on purpose. And I think there's a difference between, like, having an event happen that is a complication versus straight up just not wanting the players to pursue their action, right? So it's like, it's expected if you're going on, like, a longer journey that inevitably you're going to have to probably come into combat encounters or something like that. There's kind of like the expectation of something will happen on the road. You know, a good adventure will not just let you go from point A to point B. But, like, when there are, like, point B, C, D, E, and F kind of get in the way, it's kind of wild. Oh, you know what? I could just bring a force. Let me go more autopilot. Don't worry about it, retract. Where I feel like, as I said before, players thinking outside the box are not really rewarded, and I think that's kind of my big takeaway from the last session. There wasn't like anything outright egregious in terms of rules. There wasn't combat, which has been notoriously mishandled, like notoriously at this point with this DM. Like, so nothing of that nature. But I also feel at the same time, it's clear, like, if we don't just follow the plot points he sets out for you, he is just not happy. And his NPCs will just be very unhelpful and or just give really terse responses. And it kind of reminds me of, like, a kid pouting. I'm not gonna lie to you. It does feel like a big kid is pouting every time we do something he doesn't want us to do. So, I think I have an idea of what the plot is, even though I wasn't there for the initial sessions, so I think it's a good idea that we kill this Captain of the Guard, like, really, really soon. So hopefully next session that we talk about D&D, it's going to involve us dealing with him. Because I straight up want to kill this character. Like, unambiguously, just kill this character. Just so chat is, like, ultra clear. This person is, like, lying about their racial identity. And I am, like, 95% sure that they are either... I think they're a Druger. The Grey Dwarfs. I think they're a Grey Dwarf that's working for the Underdark. I'm like 95% sure. Like, there's been such weird moments with the character that I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not a normal dwarf. Just something about this is just not correct. And then they're with people that are also very suspiciously potentially drow or like half drow. And I'm like, okay. Like, okay. There we go. The army rolls out. I was gonna say the current forecast for Dango is we get in one run for the DnD run. Rangers, droids, females. Oh, it would have been the time of the Rock Seal for sure. So we'll see what they end up doing in terms of plot. There better not be a level up. We didn't do any combat. We should be good. I will denote that people were panicking because we had like no healer with us when we did start up the session, because we are again notoriously very combat heavy. That we would be in big trouble if we got an encounter. And I'm like, I'm kind of at the point in the game where I don't think I really care about encounters. Like, if we only have one a day, which has been the standard for, like, every session I've been in, with the exception of that one. If I don't have to worry about, like, spell slot management, I don't think I really care if I get in one combat encounter. Do you know what I mean? And if it's, like, one that I pick, that's even better. Like, wait a minute. So, yeah, like, people were doing weird things. Like, they were taking, like, Magic Adept or something like that as a feat at level 13 to learn low-level Cure Light wounds. And I'm like, I think you guys are kind of in a panic. We normally have, like, a druid and a cleric. I'm like, we really don't need, like, literally every character with healing magic. And I was like, I told them that it's like, if we really, really, really care about it, that we have alternatives to deal with it. Like, my character in particular has, like, Aura Vitality. I have the ability to heal with my Arcane Jolts every round without giving up any attacks. In fact, it only works when I attack. I'm like, I'm not really all that worried. I mean, if the DM wants to kill us, there's nothing that will really stop that. Like, am I going to go and assault the king directly? Probably not. Am I going to lure his very shady subordinates that are clearly plotting something away from the town and off them? Maybe. Do you know what? There's a difference. And even if they bring guards with them, I don't think I care. I feel like, okay. We're pretty high level at this point, and I'm extremely tanky. They're shy of, like, suddenly there just being, like, a million uber level monsters or characters. I don't really have that much to feel threatened by like normal attackers at this point in the game. There we go. Team took my telepipe. Nice. So I'm kind of curious from the standpoint, especially if you're in like a game of D&D, like how much healing do you feel comfortable with? What is like your preferred ratio of healing to like offensive classes? Because I think we have, if I give a total, not everybody's usually there. Paladin Lay on Hands is all I need. We have a cleric, a druid, 2 rogues. I'm an artificer. We have a bard, who I'd like to say also has healing, by the way. And we have a wizard. So like we have like a pretty, I would say, caster heavy group. But I don't think healing magic is something that we really needed our level 13 rogue to take. Do you know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, I don't want to tell them what to do, but at the same time, I'm like, how many characters realistically need healing in 5th edition? Just like, we could buy healing potions, it's fine. I could literally make them if you want to be a healer. Okay. It's like, I don't really want our assassin rogue healing people. Like, oh, call me crazy for that one. I don't think it's a good use of time. It's like, So, I don't know. And again, like, I get it sometimes, like, we have pretty inconsistent show-ups from, like, the cleric and druid. And to be fair, I think they're also kind of, like, I guess it's, I don't want to call them new players per se, but maybe new to 5th edition. They are protected by the most overpowered cleric I have ever seen. If chat knows what I'm talking about, the Twilight Cleric is disgusting. I'm like, listen, we literally don't need another healer. The Twilight Cleric is there. If we somehow die with the Twilight Cleric, it was not meant to be. Like, our life is forfeit. Don't worry about it. There is nothing else we could have done if we died with the Twilight Cleric. I'm sorry. It just we're not passing. If we die with that much temp HP and constant heal spam, not winnable encounter. It's not winnable. I don't believe it's winnable if you lose with that. Unless he gets like picked off at the start, there's no reason. We can't die. Don't lie to me. It's like, don't you lie to me. I don't appreciate it. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess it was nice that each player had some opportunities to have social encounters, you know, regardless of the strengths of the players. So, you know, it's, I guess, somewhat fair that happened. I don't like that the social encounter is, and then random important NPC shows up looking for the plot. Like, I don't like that aspect of it, and I think that could have been handled better. But on the plus side, we now have potentially baited the villain into doing something they shouldn't do. So I'm actually going to advise the party in between to do certain actions. But again, the DM might just be like, oh, that's too smart. We're just going to counter you. You can't outplan us. Careful, GM might take the chance to turn with the zombies style level. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried something like that. Oh, blue barrier. Wow, chat. This run is so dumb. Can we talk about this? I've gotten, like, one barrier of every color so far. Actually, wild stuff. Yellow ID so good, chat. So, I think from the perspective of, like, a new player, I don't know where the plot wants to go anymore. I mean, clearly something is going to happen now that the person's a king. Oh, Dango got a yellow barrier, nice. But, like, at the same time, like, we're not given agency as players. Like, every time we try to do something, we just get stonewalled, or, you know, oh, the answers are just not there where you're looking, and it's like, okay, well, do you want to help the players find out what your plot is that are actively trying to engage with it? Like, I'll give a counter example. Like, when I'm playing something like Pathfinder, and I want to give hints to what the players could do without outright telling them, I have, and continue to do this, write out like a list of X number of clues that certain NPCs can give, whether it's like directly related to what they're asking about, or kind of like a way to lead them to something that would give them information. I try to make sure that if there are like important NPCs in an area, that they get something out of their time, that they're just not like, you talk to Joe Schmo at the bar, and you talk for an hour, and nothing comes of it, because you're hoping he has information, but he doesn't. I would rather just put hooks of some kind, that if the players, like, go really hard out of their way to go do this, to just give them something, to make them feel like they were doing something right, even if it's not the intended course of action to follow, right? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can learn. Somebody has potentially been murdered in a building, for example, where it could just be like, so you haven't seen so-and-so show up today, or I passed by this hallway and I heard a weird noise, or, you know, the people downstairs, you know, I heard a lot of fighting, but then it's been quiet since then. Stuff of that nature. See lots of cheering. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of ways you can lead them to, like, the same conclusion, I guess the best way to put it. And I feel like, as a DM, your goal is to facilitate the story, but not be the one behind the wheel of it. Like, the players ultimately are the ones that drive the plot forward, but if you don't give them anything to work on, it's just kind of one-sided, I guess the best way to put it. Like, what else are they supposed to do if they try, like, 4 different things and the amount of clues they get is 0? Do you know what I mean? Like, even if they're, like, a little off course, like, couldn't you just have, like, another NPC just kind of, like, bump into them and try to put them back on course? I don't know. It's just odd. So, next session, we have a couple of things that we could, in theory, do. Some of them involving the red herring NPCs. One involving a character we probably should follow up with, based off of conversations the other players were having. The last hour, which I didn't talk about, of the D&D session was a solo adventure of one of our rogues sneaking around in the castle. And, like, it's kind of interesting in concept, but at the same time, it's like, why are we now having a solo adventure when everybody's here to play as a group? Like, couldn't we also have just done that before? I don't know. I feel like that's something that could have happened between sessions, where the one person decides to go with the DMPC, but other people stay behind, and then we are investigating because we told everybody that's what we were doing. So, as I said before, just kind of a mess from that standpoint. So I felt kind of bad for the other players that were waiting to do something, and it was just about 45 minutes of somebody walking around in a castle, not really understanding how the castle layout works, and then inevitably getting caught and nothing happens. We don't learn anything that we don't overhear conversations they're not supposed to hear. We don't see people that aren't supposed to be there. We don't find any items of interest that shouldn't be there. We don't find any secret passages. We don't learn anything about where the DMPC is being kept while they're in kind of the transition process between the, the safe place and / the hideout and this area. So, like, it's 45 minutes of nothing. It's basically the most polite thing I could probably call it. Like, genuinely, if those 45 minutes didn't happen, literally nothing would have been lost. If the DM just said, and then the guards bet you when the person is ready, it would have had the same story impact as before. But we didn't learn anything. So, I don't know, chat. As I said before, there's just some weird moments with it that I think are a bit disappointing. Where there are, like, so many things that could have happened while the player was exploring the castle. Like, as a reminder, there's, like, apparently a whole cult that just kills people that is in the castle. We didn't come across anything like that. We didn't find any secret meeting layers. We didn't find, like, dead bodies in places that are clearly off limits to the public, etc., etc. Where clearly people are being killed. I just want to be clear. It's not like a hypothetical. Like, people have died in this campaign already and have been killed by them in this castle. So, like, it's not a big stretch to think that we could find them either. So, I don't know, chat. I definitely would want to hear what chat thinks in regards to, like, what would you do? What would you think your plot hook would be in a similar campaign? What would you want the players to do if there's this whole, like, political intrigue of somebody getting power? I feel like there should have been something else to follow up on or do. And I feel very disappointed that, like, we followed, like, 3 or 4 different leads in that session, and we came back, like, ultra dry in terms of content. Like, I only learned one thing in all of the investigation that we did that I did not know previously. I learned more from our other party members about the plot that apparently was not worth being brought up to my character previously, or me as a player prior to that point. So I guess I have to go find an undead army abomination thing at some point, question mark, I guess. Question asked Calvisham, as a GM, can you lower or raise the rolls to suit your needs? Absolutely. There is literally a term for that, Calvisham. It's called fudging the dice. If you think narratively you like what the PCs are doing and you roll something behind the screen, you can lie about it. If you're like, you know what, I really like their attempt, and they're like, they just had like the most unlucky of unlucky rolls, and you think it would be more interesting if they had succeeded because something unexpected would happen, you could just fudge the dice. The DMs don't have to care about the inherent rules of the game. They can hand wave a lot of stuff. Rule of cool, exactly. You'd be like, that's not quite how it works, but I like the imagery, and the whole point is to be a hero in the game, so I'm gonna allow it. Like, that happens all the time. So, and I want to be clear, the person is not following, like, very strict rules at all. The problem is also they're, like, super loosey-goosey, and they're kind of anti-player, which is not a good position to be in as a DM. We talked about a couple different times on stream. So as I said before, like, if you feel like the players are not doing something that you want them to do, then, like, your rule of fool, yeah, pretty much. Then just, like, do something. So it's like, yes, they gave me another NPC to potentially look at, But I don't see how talking to some of the characters that got in our way have anything to do with the plot other than they are clearly evil agents working for people that we already know. We already know those characters don't like us. Like, we don't need more NPCs to be telling us that these other people are a problem and want to kill us almost every time we meet. It's like, yeah, that plot point is sailed. I don't need to meet every member of an enemy army to know that the enemy army doesn't like me. Do you know what I mean, Chad? It's like, yes, I recognize you're from the place that tried to kill us earlier. I understood the plot. Trust me. I don't need to keep investigating that. Oh, 30 hit Gabog. That's unfortunate. Should have been safe for an X-Cal. Oh yeah, so Calvision, the whole point of playing like a game master is you get to kind of set stuff up for players to deal with, and you get to watch players squirm for like a couple hours. So, you know, they're trying to like not get their characters killed. So from that perspective, you know, they're plotting out all these combats and stuff like that, but you have control over the plot. You get to say whatever you say goes, as honestly as the GM. Like I think it's even called like GM fiat. Like you could just say it works that way, and it works that way. There's not really an argument unless it's like a clear cut contradiction of the rules, like super clear cut. And it's like then there's some like leeway. But you know, from the standpoint, if you want to say like zombies and vampires are working together to murder a village, like it'll happen. It is now a thing because you said it is. Do you know what I mean? Like. No one is going to contradict you on this as the GM. 50 hit promise has to be criminal, definitely criminal. So I don't know. I don't know what the DM's endgame goal is. I think originally he wanted me to attack the child so that the child would kill me. But I recognized the kid was just way too powerful and gave up on that plan as soon as I saw him do anything. Because I'm like, oh, he's already, like, literal god tier. Also, did we complete the whole soundtrack? I guess that was the Tokiden soundtrack. Yeah, okay. Let's move to one last soundtrack as we wrap up DnD final thoughts. So I think from the perspective, as I said before, there's a lot of different ways you could play the equivalency of D&D. There's a lot of D&D variants that don't necessarily involve rolling a d20. I personally prefer stuff other than D&D. You go to a village and see a zombie dancing, then he disappears. Oh man, I got hit with the Euden Rising, almost. But yeah, nothing stops you from doing it. I mean, you're basically playing an interactive story at the end of the day. There's a lot of mediums you could choose to do with it. But D&D does not bode well when you don't let players roll for things, and things just kind of auto-fail. I think kind of the underlying issue of the campaign, like there wasn't like a big spectacular blowout in this particular session. There wasn't like the DM like suddenly spawns 40 million assassins and kills the players kind of bad, but it's more of like a slow burn of kind of not going in the spirit of storytelling, where something is happening, but it is not anything we have direct control over in the plot, nor do we seem to be able to investigate it, nor do we seem to be able to interact with it much. So I don't get what story it is that they're trying to tell. It's more like watching a movie than participating in D&D. It's funny that you say that, Calvisham. We'll go on a small tangent in our D&D story time, but actually true, Calvisham. There is a Suikoden tabletop game I might post at some point on the stream, where you can make your own Suikoden character and pick your runes. I know you're making fun of me getting absolutely I think it was Suikoden 2. I got bodied. But yeah, we could get bodied on tabletop later. Just get ended, it's okay. But yeah, I mean, like, again, like, D&D is always going to have kind of, like, inside jokes or, well, not always, but, you know, some tongue-in-cheek moments in there. Should we get D&D story where we fight Girl? Listen, Girl is unbeatable. Honestly, Girl's probably had more characterization than some of the NPCs I dealt with in the D&D story. Like, there are entire times, I think I mentioned in the last session, but I'll also touch upon this point, where I really struggle to get a physical description of anything that we're encountering in D&D. So, like, I have a lot of trouble picturing anything that is happening in the game. Like, I'll give an example. We bumped into a cloaked figure while leaving a magic shop because our wizard learned the contingency spell and wanted to go to a magic shop to get a figurine of their likeness while on our way to investigate other things, as an example of us trying to be preemptive and do stuff with the game. And we bump into a person, and it isn't until like 20 minutes into the conversation with said character that we are introduced to the fact that the person is purple and has crystals instead of hair. And I'm like, why wouldn't you lead with that? I'm like, why is that not the first thing that we notice? Why are we having this conversation with this person? Hello? Excuse me? Excuse me, it's kind of important. Yeah, by the way, I'm a robot. Yeah, kind of like that. I'm like, it's kind of important to tell us a little bit about the character we're talking to. Just like to state that. And that's why I feel a little disconnected with some of the stories. Like, between the NPCs just kind of never wanting to interact with us, even ones that are allegedly friendly. As I said before, kind of lack of descriptions. It's hard to like put myself in the shoes of a character in this universe. So I think that's why I've partially gone like murder NPC aside. But to be fair, I'm not murdering random NPCs. I'm murdering ones that are very clearly evil. It just we just haven't literally caught them in a crime yet. It's just that they're the only people that could have caused certain things. So it's like, I'm like, how much do I really want to wait for evidence? If I kill the character, does it really matter for me in the universe? Not really. I didn't proclaim my character to be goody two-shoes. In fact, they told me not to be a goody two-shoes, which is probably for the best, because as I mentioned earlier, we have an assassin in the party, so we're not exactly lawful good, say the least. Lots of photon drops apparently. But anyway, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I really missed in talking about in that session, other than the character sheet fiasco. I guess I did appreciate the one-on-ones. I didn't really talk about it, but he did talk about how, like, relationships with the other characters have evolved, and, like, what some of the other PCs were doing, and how I could potentially interact with them. I thought that was, like, the actually only good part of the session. Like, if every session was like that, it would be, like, actually good, but unfortunately, as I said before, there's a lot of competitive NPCs. Make a game where you fight Garl, be prepared to be fed bread, and be told to do better. Damn. I mean, you can, Calvisham. D&D is a world, and tabletop games are a world where if you just want to make a quote-unquote meme game, nothing stops you. Some people actually prefer that over serious stories. So who knows? If you ever get really bored, I am all for supporting you becoming a meme DM. Yeah, I know a lot of people talk about, like, DM prep time, and it's a big joke that, like, DMs just say they need prep time, but they don't do anything. I actually genuinely do prep time. I know other people like to procrastinate, but I sit there when I'm when I'm in a serious campaign and I want to make sure players are kind of following different plot points. I sit there and I have all the clues to the story written out. I have like plot beats that I want to make sure happen depending on, you know, I put like if choices in there. Like, did they side with this person or not side with this person? Okay. How might that impact the relationship? I don't go to like every possible thing, but like the major story beats are in like a literal outline. And I'm like, okay, that'll be my refresher. That I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure to talk about this, so that way at the end of the session or the beginning of the next session, I've already foreshadowed something before it happens. And whether they realize I'm foreshadowing is on them, or whether they even care whether it results there is up to them. I'm not usually the arbiter of whether something will happen. I'm not gonna be like, oh, the NPC or like the PC stopped me from like setting up a bomb on something, so then I'm gonna say, oh, but I really had 4 other bombs because I didn't expect the PCs that no. I don't want to do stuff like that. Think of a cross RPG series, gym teacher will be on it. As I said before, Calvisham, if you want to do if you want to host, I'm sure people would participate and enjoy a meme on the stream, as it were. All it is just inside jokes on the stream. As a DM/GM across those games, all you could just make a million rules up. Whether people want to play it after that is, you know, that's up to the player. And I think sometimes the DM forgets that ultimately, if the players don't feel involved or feel like their choices matter, not a really great experience. Like Calvisham jokes about it, but it would actually be a genuinely interesting story if your point is to sabotage a character like Garl. Piece of bread that knows Mage Hand, there you go. Like, you could actually have a whole DM story like that. The whole point is to sabotage Garl. You just figure out ways to stop Garl from doing what he wants. Second PD from Red, says Marco. Oof. So if you want the gym teacher to be the ultimate character, Calvisham, you absolutely could. Get out of here, Mazer Beam Dropper. Perish. Yeah, I think we'll finish out the quest. I'll think about if there's anything else to really add, but I'll probably pause it here, more or less. I don't know. Oh, well, one comment that people were saying is that they were preparing, like, backup characters if their character dies. I'm like, if I die, I'm out. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not making another character. No, thank you. I don't feel like doing it. I could still maybe attend just to talk about it, but I don't think I'm going to play a character at that point. They kill me, they kill me. Wow, that is a lot of photon drops from the same Red Sinnoh. That was actually kind of wild. The RNG was aligned. Apparently everybody but me got something there. Damn. Because I'm not robot. I'm not robot, chat. I don't get the full forecast bonus. I got wrecked. I agree, epic choir music. It was a robbery. But, yeah. I don't know. I mean, my advice, like, I guess if I had to be more positive, like, people are willing to work with new DMs. People are willing to work with older DMs. It's all about entertaining people. So, like, especially if you're, like, a Twitch streamer, like, you should be used to kind of entertaining people. Alvisha says, you talk about Gym Teacher being the villain, remind me of the villain reveal on East Monster. And that was dumb. Oh, you mean the janitor? Yeah, that was pretty terrible. The campaign would never end. Oh no, I missed the initial comment. What was the initial comment? D&D makes story of Dango getting Excal. Damn. The endless series. Dango will get Galatine. He'll get hit percentage Galatine before he gets Excal. It'll be like 80 hit. It won't make any sense. I guess I could talk through one more quest actually before we end, because we can make it a bit more constructive and not just about complaining about other people DMing. So, one of the big takeaways with it is that I feel like people have different styles of DMing, and I realize some people enjoy more kind of like off the cuff, and I think DnD is actually really terrible at that, if I'm going to be frank with you. D&D is a very template-oriented and very sheet-driven kind of game. I would probably recommend that you play something else that is a bit more loose. Like there's systems like GURPS, or like Mutants and Masterminds, or what is it, Big Eyes Small Lip, or whatever it's called. There's a whole bunch of ones that are more based off of like comic books and those kinds of heroes versus like D&D fantasy settings. So if you're not doing like a straight up dungeon crawler, I think D&D has a lot of faults with that. So I think kind of bringing it back in parallel there, we're having kind of like a social campaign where there's not really a lot of things supported in the system by default. And the DM also doesn't like to do rolls for encounters in general. So I feel like things like charisma stats and other things are kind of wasted. And granted, you know, there's other systems that potentially could say, like, if you make a request, it's of a certain DC, and you could do it that way. But if some people just like going off the cuff, I really do recommend checking out other systems, you know, whether they use D6s, and you get to burn D6s based off your skills, rather than use D20s, or if you really just, like, autopilot want to figure things out, I will give probably a second shout out to Mutants and Masterminds in the same conversation. That game was like the easiest thing where I was like, okay, what's the power level of the creature? Okay, so I know what its a hit and damage is. We're good. Like, I at no point have to look anything up. I'm like, oh, does he have a gun? Oh, is it stronger or weaker than a pistol? Oh, then it's like a damage 3. Like, it's just one of those things you just off the cuff don't care. Although, I guess there's some things to be said if you like certain universes. Maybe we'll dive into the Suikoden verse at some point. But again, like, I feel like those kinds of games are more, we'll say, combat heavy or combat focused versus more kind of social encounters. Like, for people that like horror stuff, there are horror tabletop games that you could play. I think it's like Call of Cthulhu is like managing sanity, and the point is to not fight the monsters, but to kind of deal with them in other ways. So for people that like that kind of setting, like, those kinds of things exist. So I'm not sure, for example, if the DM would have liked one of those a bit more over traditional D&D. Rip, nobody took my telepipe. But, like, honestly, like, if you find yourself kind of in a takeaway with games, or you find yourself in a takeaway from mediums, and you're like, wow, that is, like, the worst plot twist I've ever seen. I would have done something totally different. Then I would say go for it. Like, people will support you playing. It kind of tangential to it, but, like, on the way to D&D, I wore, like, a D&D shirt while I was at a bar with somebody else waiting to go to D&D. And the thing is, like, 3 people came up to me and they asked me, like, if I'm hosting D&D. So, like, people are, like, DM hungry. You would not believe it. Like, I'm telling you, just wear something. I was wearing a shirt that had, I forget what logo it was on specifically, but it was like a massive D&D shirt, right? It had like the D20 on it. It had like the logo with the dragons, etc. And it's just like, that enough is enough for people. No, it's not Critical Role. But it's from the standpoint where even just having something related to it, people are willing to ask you to host and they don't even know you. Like, it is way easier than you think it is to get people to play that game. It's very easy. Trust me. Just show up. Show up. For those that are not aware, the reason why D&D could be potentially popular at, like, microbreweries or bars is because there's something known as Dungeons and Drafts, where people literally just get together and play D&D as, like, a one-shot during certain days while having beer. So, like, that's a thing, if you didn't know that was a thing. And it's somewhat more popular, I guess, in my area. And people are always looking for hosts. All you gotta do is put yourself out there, chat. Trust me. You could probably be a better storyteller than me. I like lock in when it comes to fantasy settings. Some of my stories kind of ramble a bit, but that's the difference. I'm less of an off-the-cuff person. I'm not as super spontaneous as other people could be, so that could be like my weak area if I'm not expecting a player to do things. But I could also sit there and go, with many years of knowledge and a lot of meta on how I think players are going to interact, I could probably accurately guess a handful of scenarios that they will find themselves in and know enough to have character names and everything else on the fly ready before I ever go to it. Like, I don't have to force them to talk to the NPCs. I don't want them to feel forced that, like, every character ever is someone that they have to talk to. But, you know, if they decide to put their time towards it, at least something will happen. Like, I think there was a list of, if I remember correctly, like 16 different passengers on the train on my own personal Pathfinder campaign. And all of them can give hints as to, like, what the big event will end up being on the train. Through, like, kind of, like, indirectly realizing what something, or indirectly knowing about something and not realizing what it really is, etc. And I would say like the best part of that kind of style game for me is when I see a player like actively taking notes, which again is sometimes kind of rare. But then also having like the eureka moment where they're like, oh, that's why you said this, and this person said they didn't know. They're like, oh, that wasn't technically a lie, but it means this happened instead, and stuff like that. Like, you can't have those moments unless people get like super invested in it. So like, I can't promise you if you're gonna DM, you'll get that kind of level of player. But I will say from the standpoint that it can be rewarding, even if it's just playing with friends. Maybe a Groundhog Day kind of campaign could work. It could. Like, it totally does count, Visham, because all you have to do is go like, okay, let them go through a loop, right? Have a couple major characters that are introduced that maybe are part of like some, like the real reason it's looping, and they go about their day, whether or not the NPCs find them or not, and then figure out like how other things go and just kind of react to the players. You can definitely do it. I mean, obviously, like, depending on your comfort level, you either make it, you know, like just a handful of people versus like a small town, you know, that it comes down to comfort level. But yeah, you could do something like that. It'd probably be fun. You can even like gamify it to an extent where like you get revived by the gods at like checkpoints and stuff like that. You can totally introduce like normal RPG mechanics in the game. Say this is how it works. But like you expect them to fail, and as long as everybody doesn't die, they have a chance of coming back. You could purposely make combat a bit harder if you really wanted to. Oh, there's a whole bunch of things you could do. But anyway, chat, I don't think I have too much else to talk about with D&D. As I said before, it was fine. A third of it was just player interactions, which nothing wrong with that. I'll read Calvisham's thought before I end the recording. The idea of exploring different areas in the same town while gaining knowledge, yes. That is what that campaign I'm in should be about, and isn't, unfortunately. Where we went to like 3 different areas and learned nothing is something that should never happen in D&D. Especially where we're going to people that should know things. But anyway, let's pause for here. And we'll continue with Dango's Hunt literally in like 1 minute. But from the standpoint of YouTube, let's say goodbye to YouTube. So if you did watch to this point, the video or the VOD, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Hope to see you again next time.